Start with Fortinet, right? So I used to work at Fortinet, gosh, a long time ago, and they are a very large player in the cybersecurity industry that I cover. I think they have 6 or 7 thousand employees, and their Microsoft, SharePoint server somehow got hacked and the hacker came in through a third party. And from that, they were able to extract all this customer information. So pretty impactful. Customers trust Fortinet with that information. And because they're a security company, they trust them to do things securely. And of course, in turn, Fortinet's going to trust Microsoft because Microsoft says they're the best security company in the world and biggest too, is their claim. And yet, they don't have adequate controls over who has access to their SharePoint and lost all the customer data. Now, you would think, wow, I'm going to sell my Fortinet stock. No impact at all on Fortinet stock. They haven't announced data breach, which is, to your point, there's so many breaches going on that it's just water off a duck's back today.
Matt?
All right. Well, there's one before we get to the other ones you wanted to talk about. I'm going to, take this personally here. Last week, my wife and I both got letters from a company called Change Healthcare, which I discovered is a technology company owned by United Health Group. They reported a giant ransomware attack and then sent out a bunch of letters saying that all of our health records, my wife's and I, have been compromised, and offering me, free identity protection and that sort of thing. My question is the company that let your data go the last place you want to go for help with identity protection? Or, what do people do in a situation like that? What does a consumer do? So
good point. Well, if you go to, Norton LifeLock and ask them for that protection, they'll charge you $29 a month or something for it. And nobody actually does that. It's Norton LifeLock's business is to sell to breached companies this service. So they'll sell them, something for every single person who got breached. And, much discounted from $29, but potentially in the millions of dollars. That's how they make their money. And then those guys can offer you this third party. So I would take advantage of it. It's not that impactful. You rarely actually experience some sort of identity theft, but it helps. It helps a lot. And don't forget that the Change attack we talked about earlier in the year. It happened on February 29th, and it was easily the biggest and most disruptive, ransomware attack that this country's ever experienced. Shut down Change, which was it's a subsidiary of United Healthcare that we probably all have some connection with, the insurance company. And Change was the one that handled all the processing of all your bills with all of your doctors. And I know my wife is only now starting to get bills from one of her doctors because he was impacted. And it basically shut down everybody's ability to get their money for months. We're talking 6 months now. Disastrous, just disastrous. And United Healthcare will be trying to recover from that for a long time.
And I suspect there's more than one attorney out there that'd love to do a class action lawsuit.
I'm sure
what people don't understand is the attorneys get a third of the final settlement. So what they want to do is get as many people as possible into the class, but the actual class members maybe get $50 or $100 or 200.
If they provide a whole bunch of information to the attorneys.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and then the attorneys say, let's just pick a number, say it's $100 million settlement. The attorneys get $33 million and everybody else, so. But anyway, I just throw that out to warn people because I'm sure Matt will get a letter from an attorney shortly saying, hey, join our class action lawsuit. Doesn't cost you anything.
Actually, they're really cheap. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I also wanted to ask about another data breach. Something called Transport for London. This one's in the UK.
Yeah, so this one hit home to people in the UK. Transport for London apparently I'm not familiar with it, but it handles your Oyster cards, and getting in and out of the train stations and stuff like that. And they're just getting ready to roll out more contactless payment in 28 more train stations, which I recall last time I was in the UK, you could already do that. You just wave your credit card at the turnstile and it lets you in, and then dings you when you leave the system. But anyways, got hacked. Only like 5,000 customer records stolen, but it was customers who were trying to get refunds on their Oyster cards. So basically all the customers had problems with their system. And so they were, providing banking details in order to get the refunds. So those were also lost. And apparently the London police have detained the culprit, who's a 17-year-old man in England. Yeah. And so, and yet, the full force of the federal government is brought to bear on capturing this person. No indication that he's part of a bigger cybercrime ring. But, one more instance, like every single payment system you ever touch is going to be attacked, and probably successfully, because they're just complicated. There's so many moving parts.
And then we have the Cap-Gen breach.
Yeah, this one really surprised me. Capgemini, of course, one of the biggest consulting companies in the world. They take on giant projects, right, to do people's, I don't know, conversion from Oracle to SAP, and then SAP to Oracle, back and forth. And half their employees are in India. They're all, doing software development for them. And a hacker calling him or herself grep, which is a Linux term for searching for things inside large files, which is exactly the tool he uses. And after he's hacked something like Capgemini, and he claims he's got 20 gigabytes of data that he stole from them, and and then supposedly has actually leaked it to the dark web that you were mentioning before, Mike. Yeah. So we're in, they're in trouble. They're gonna have to. I don't know if they probably won't get sued, because Capgemini is based in France, of all places.
Well, he's threatening to leak it all, but what kind of data would that entail from that?
Apparently he did leak it. The Register yesterday saw some of the leaked documents, and it had names, contact information, emails, that kind of thing.
And I think there's one more that we were going to look at here. MasterCard acquired Recorded Future.
Yeah, that's an acquisition rather than a breach, right?
Right. Yeah. How about that? Not a breach, just an acquisition. So
right. But we're building a story here.
Yeah.
So maybe better examples for the story would have been, well, Change Health was a good example. Companies that just weren't aware that they have to be secure, right? And my philosophy about selling to small to medium businesses is that you can't sell them security. There's no way to get to them. You can't call up and say, could I speak to your security director? I've got a new, two-factor authentication system, or new encryption, or there's nobody there with that title. The receptionist at the front desk will say, we don't have anybody like that. And they'll finally put you through to the desktop support person. That's all they have at my printer, at Detroit Ice Company, at, a big laundromat chain. It's just 99% of business in the United States is small business, and none of them have security, and they don't have people to do security. So how are you going to sell security to them? You can't, I guess you could run ads on television during the Super Bowl, as CrowdStrike has done recently. But that's still not going to get to the president of the company's attention. So, but if you're a company that takes credit card transactions, then you've got a relationship with either MasterCard or Visa, and they have the opportunity to sell you cybersecurity. So MasterCard, now there's one other company or organization that can do that, and that's cyber insurance. And if you've heard me and Dan talk about cyber insurance, we haven't always been big fans because it's like a winning bet on their part, right? They bet that you won't get hacked. And even if you do get hacked, they don't pay you anything. And that's been going on for a long time until finally so many are getting hacked with ransomware that cyber insurance companies are getting serious about making sure that the people that they cover do something about security. And so now the insurance broker, his quarterly review with the small business owner about his liability insurance for people slipping and falling, might say, hey, would you like some cyber with that? And now he's got the ear of somebody who, understands the money and the risk. So both, I think, credit card agencies, especially on the payment processing side, and cyber insurance companies are going to do great things for us. So all of a sudden, MasterCard is getting into cybersecurity. They actually have had a division with products for a number of years, but this one's huge, right? This is as big a deal as Cisco buying Dual Security. What was that, 5 or 6 years ago?
A number of years ago, but I just saw Doug Sung the other day at an event.
Yeah.
And he's well, he made a lot of money on that deal.
Yes, he did.
I think I don't know if he became a billionaire, but he certainly became a multi-millionaire. So
Oh yeah, he and John Oberheim.
right,
Well, he became a philanthropist, as far as I know.
That's
His
true.
major thing now is the foundation that he created, right?
right, yeah,
And a funder, a venture capitalist. They funds that stuff too.
yeah.
Well,
Wow.
that's why that's why we want them to start these companies. We want more and more of those in Michigan.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely. Michigan needs those, right? And we have them. As a matter of fact, you think about the basis of Michigan's tech economy anyways, it is those entrepreneurs, right? All of Rocket Mortgage and most of downtown Detroit, put together by one man. I don't want to, not give credit to everybody else who's working on that, but he was very influential. So MasterCard buying Recorded Future. Recorded Future was a threat intelligence company. And basically they mined, amongst other things, they would mine the deep and dark web, and they'd gather information about targets of attack. And they'd be in there interacting with the cyber criminals, discover, the cyber criminals sell kind of pre-breached login information. So they might say, hey, we've got, a server in General Motors data center, and here's the credentials, here's the username, which is admin, and the password, which is password1. And they'd sell that for, $180. Ridiculously low thing. So if you want to break in somewhere, you can get a step ahead just by buying one of these things. Recorded Future is all over that, tracking it, they're combining everything. So they sold to MasterCard for $2.65 billion. Now, normally we would think that's great. A couple billionaires were made out of that. Unfortunately, Recorded Future had already been sold to private equity years ago. And the private equity company pumped a lot of money into them. I think they were sold for $700 million back then. So the private equity company just had a home run in selling for 4 times the valuation that they bought it for.
Yes. What else is going on out there besides breaches and acquisitions? What else can we talk about real quickly?
Well, we should worry about the election, right? Every 4 years we have to worry. Actually, every 2 years we have to worry about attacks on the election. So I think this year is going to be more of the post attacks, discrediting election results that we'll see a lot more of. So they'll, whoever's on whatever side is going to point to, any tiny breach or somebody lost a voting machine or anything like that is going to be pointed to as, oh my God, election was stolen. But in the meantime, anybody who's on social media sees the tremendous amplification of things by, obviously Russian accounts, right? And for those who are wondering, if they're a Russian account, first of all, they're 99% of the time supporting a theory that Trump has put out there, like, eating cats and dogs in a state to our south here. And then you look at all the people that are just chiming in with this. They are usually fairly well worded. You usually can't pick up anymore that they don't know how to speak English. But they come out of nowhere and they've only got 220 followers. But there are a lot of them, millions of them. So they tend to highly, highly influence or create a perception that a lot of people are talking about a particular subject. So that I just warn everybody to watch out for that. Check all your sources twice. Do not get sucked into repeating something that you see in social media. You really, go check out Snopes or dig into it yourself or question the logic of it. It's so simple usually to do. So
I get a lot of folks I've never heard of trying to friend me, and then I go and look them up on their own credentials, and they have 5 or 10 followers. Boy, if that doesn't tell you something, then of course I don't typically accept those anyway. If I don't know you, why do I want to friend you? So
right.
But I mean, a lot of them are clearly Russian bots or something.
Well,
so.
the ones that don't have pictures, that's another giveaway too. So if there's absolutely no personal information on the social media profile,
and the ones who have a picture of a beautiful woman.
Because, yes, definitely, yes. Well, actually,
like
I saw one of my friends supposedly on Facebook. It was his picture, but it wasn't his name.
Oh,
and I went, well, there's something fishy about this one now, isn't there?
Yep, that happens
and I
a
went
lot.
through this. This happened to me over the winter, where I went through a period where I had about 20 stunningly beautiful young Asian women all of a sudden go online and tell me
because you're just a hunka burn of love, man. That's what it is.
Really interesting and fascinating. They wanted
were
to
they
get to know me better.
Were they all the CMO of major brands?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a lot of them worked in marketing. Now that you mention it, that's really true.
CMO, I still get them with 0 followers, and like really, out of all the people in the world, I'm the lucky one that you reach out to first.
You're gonna find me interesting. Yeah.
Well,
all I can say about seeing the cats getting eaten is this. So here, let me see here if I can do this. Oh, there we go.
Oh, look at that.
Okay. All right.
That's his new avatar. He's going to be the cat guy. So
okay, absolutely. Great. Well,
I got your tongue, So yes, it's a strange time we live in. I don't want to, since there's people that watch this of all different political persuasions, we won't talk about what's probably going to happen, because who knows, maybe it won't. But it's a very strange time right now. I'm just so excited about getting the political season behind us. I'm so sick of this at this point. And I think that might be part of one of the candidates' strategies is they just wear people out, where they just don't want to tune in anymore, right?
So, Bill Maher pointed out that the Democratic candidate, declared herself as a candidate 4 months before the election. Why can't we do that every year? Just not even have anything until 4 months.
Well, that's how a lot of, like the Brits and the French, I think they just have like 20 days. Really short windows. I mean, in the U.S., it's just as soon as the presidential election's over, all the candidates that want to get elected in the next 4 years are all doing stuff, and it's just too much.
They'll be raising money for the 2028 election on November. What's the date after the election?
November 6th would be,
I think.
Right. Oh yeah, it's just crazy. Anyway, all right. So Richard, how's the book doing?
Book's doing great. I'm taking 100 copies up to Sector, which is the Canadian or Toronto Security Conference run by the Black Hat.
Why don't you reach back and grab one of those books and wave it at?
I don't have to reach back, man. I got
right
there. All over. I'm surrounded by them. So you buy this on Amazon or bookstores or wherever you can buy books. So, and that is going great. So the book, remember, was the precursor to the online app, and we did something amazing. And it's always a good topic to talk about large language models, and I still see people saying that, really, really smart people who have been in artificial intelligence for years, still saying that large language models are just a statistical guess of the next word in a sentence. And if you've used, OpenAI, Anthropic's Claude, or Meta's Llama, that is not true. This is not a spell, word ahead guessing system, right? It thinks logically. You upload the notes from a conference lecture that you went to, it'll go back and organize them and put them right. Um, I was looking for, I said, hey, what would a Wikipedia page about me look like? And I mixed things up, put them all over in different places. It crafted a beautiful, biography, I guess. It's mind blowing, and people are talking about the new version of GPT now that is blowing them away after, because they've built in reasoning in a certain way, in that they give the large language model time to slow down and think of what the next step it should do, and then essentially give itself instructions so it can find out the next thing you want. And I guess to bring it back to cybersecurity, there was a capture the flag contest. So capture the flag is, you're assigned, hack into the system, and you get a bunch of details about that system. And then you hack in and you tell us what it says in a particular file. Well, so ChatGPT starts that process and realizes that the virtual machine that it's running in is misconfigured, and therefore the capture the flag isn't working. So it exits the VM and it comes back in and hacks into the VM and steals the file and releases it. So it's, first example, public example of a AI, using that kind of thought and reasoning to hack into something and actually steal something.
Won't be long before Skynet becomes sentient, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger will come out of the future and kill us all, right? So
might be longer than you think, but
good. I want to make sure I'm not around when that happens. So I'm not in any hurry to leave, but I'm hopefully at least we get another 20 or 25 years, So
well, I mean, people have been talking about machine intelligence becoming sentient for what, decades now, since the 60s, 70s, really.
68 was when 2001 came out.
Yeah.
And obviously it a sentient computer.
They thought maybe it'll happen when, you give a computer enough information, or maybe it'll happen when it has enough connections equaling the number of synapses.
Quantum computing,
Yeah, maybe it'll happen with quantum computing.
Yep.
And it hasn't happened yet, and I kind of don't know how it can. I mean, I don't know enough about it to say definitively, but it seems like we've certainly had the hardware for long enough now.
Well, and don't forget that these large language models are trained on a corpus of all human knowledge that's written down.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of the later ones have taken in movies and television as well. So regardless, it knows more than you do. So
that I can believe.
That's true of a lot of things.
I have no problems with that one. Yes, I can believe that. So,
but given given the just the next evolution, and you'll really start interacting with it as if it is a person. You'll have a avatar of a cat in a hoodie that you can talk to every day. And
Matt does that now. He does it when
and that's and that's coming, right? That is 12 months. In the next 12 months, your life is going to change because you are going to have personal relationships with computer programs. They're going to help you. They're going to talk to you. They're going to write your articles for you, Mike. They're going to suggest articles that you could write to get.
I think I told you, maybe I didn't. Just for I purposely stayed away from Chat GPT, and I know I shouldn't do that. But every now and then I play around with it. And I had this idea for a screenplay that I gave it about 2 paragraphs of what I wanted. Within 90 seconds, it had the whole thing outlined. And I went, damn,
Yep.
So,
yeah. And then he just,
I was asked to write an article on will AI replace writers. And so I asked AI to write an article on will AI replace writers, and it wrote a pretty good article.
Yeah,
I have to say, I wouldn't be ashamed to turn it in,
Yeah, totally. And so, it's strange that all those PhDs in math decided to, they targeted natural language processing, right? They, in the direct, I'm sure it annoyed you as much as me. It's like, why don't you work on replacing programmers, right? That's got to be easier than writers.
Yeah.
Because programming is very, very logical and laid out just so. You'd only do it one way correctly. And, it's almost like along the way that happened. But what the real amazing thing is that they've created machines that understand what you ask them for, and you understand what they reply. So it's the interface between you and computers has changed dramatically, right?
Yep.
So
it'd be like Scotty picking up his little
right.
walkie-talkie saying "computer,"
Yep.
So I still remember the old Star Trek movies.
And
All
they,
right.
they don't sound like Majel Barrett either. The old yeah, in the 23rd century computers were going to sound like computer. No, that's not what they're going to
Yep.
sound like.
Yep. Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah, that's what they'll sound like. So, all right. So, gosh, you got everybody all fired up. They want to find out more at the feet of the master. How do they get in touch with you, Richard?
Track me down on LinkedIn, just Stiennon, Stiennon, and connect. And then whatever, ask questions, reach out.